The hashtag Me Too and Time's Up movements have definitely been on the consciousness of pop culture as of late. More and more people are adopting, more and more people are subscribing to what those movements stand for. Marissa Tancherone is a showrunner on the hit show Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on ABC, and she gave her account of sexual misconduct when she was first starting out in the industry. It's a very, very, very awesome interview she gave to BuzzFeed. And she also talks about being an Asian American woman in the industry. Now, since the Time's Up movement's come out and Me Too, you've seen a lot of Caucasian women, African American women telling their story, but very few Asian American women and Asian women have been at the forefront of that as well. And she talks about that in depth and says that, quote, "You learn how to work through the system. It's something we need to do and to play well with others and to work and to succeed." And what she's talking about is how there's a stereotype in the industry that Asian women are docile, that they are subservient, that they are not powerful people at all. It was a very eye-opening read for me. What did you guys think?
I wasn't surprised at all. It was sad, absolutely, but I wasn't surprised. And I think everything that was being pointed out in this interview, I think it affects all women of color. And it's not to say, I'm not having an all lives matter moment. I'm just saying there's no one else that looks anything like you. There may be a couple other women, and then you feel even more so like you can't say anything. You're not allowed to complain. You're not allowed to say this is not okay because you feel like you barely got the job anyway, regardless of your skill. There's just not that many opportunities.
Right.
Yeah, I was reading something from Ava DuVernay, I think over the weekend, where she was interviewed and she was saying that the Time's Up movement, the hashtag Me Too movement is great, but this isn't really the time for a victory lap quite yet. It's great that it's very pervasive, that we're talking about this, but we have a lot of work yet to do. Absolutely. So the conversations that we've been having is awesome, and it's the beginning, but there is still so much work, and we need to make sure that as we move forward with this movement, that it is an inclusive movement and that we are leaning forward and leaning in to listen to the other accounts of people that are not just the Caucasian actresses or actors that are speaking out. I think that is really important because we need to include everyone for this to be comprehensive, and we just can't forget about the voices that are not yet empowered. So that's why I think this article is going viral, because it is an account that we have yet to have heard from.
You kind of like brought up a good thought for me. That articles like that are important because no matter how big the conversation is, so many women who they get left out. And so there needs to be singled out. People need to be singled out. We needed to have conversations about the reaction to Lupita's essay compared to all the women, the Harvey Weinstein accusers before her. We needed to have that conversation.
And Salma Hayek as well.
Right. We needed to have these conversations. That story needed to be written because it needs to be singled out.
Right.
Because you get lost. There's even more. So the conversation is about women in general, but what about Black women? What about Asian women? So then they're still not there yet. They need to be singled out. They need to be uplifted.
In this article, several people talk about their opinions and why they think that Asian American women and Asian women in general in the industry don't speak. Jess Calder, who produced the 2018 comedic drama Blind Spotting, said, quote, "I feel like we were raised to be hardworking and, for the lack of a better word, quiet, with the idea of being our hard work at the end of the day is going to pay off." So she's saying that they're taught to just go to work, don't say anything, do the job. When I read this article, I thought, first of all, I was glad that an Asian American woman is speaking up, because we talked about Chloe Bennett, who took her name was Chloe Wang. She's an actress right now, and she didn't want to use the name Wang because of how stereotyped Asian women are in this industry. And I have Asian friends who have said that, Asian women are taught to be subservient. It's in their culture. And I mean, I'm not Asian, so I've saying that makes me feel uncomfortable. But now with the underserved Asian women in the industry, it's probably scary for them because there's not many Asian roles. And if we've seen, like, Olivia Munn was one of the first Asian women to speak out when it comes to the Me Too movement. And these people come to Hollywood because they want to work. You know, and again, it's like a broken record, but I feel that the powers that be dangle this carrot in your face because you sacrifice so much to be in this industry. You sacrifice so much to just exist to get that opportunity. God forbid you do anything that tips the scales out of your favor. So, I mean, it's
especially if the scales are already weighted against you.
Right.
I think that that's sort of what we are having as part of the conversation, why it needs to be intersectional, is because depending on where you come from and your experience and your ethnicity and your race, like that is going to shape how the industry will perceive you and the opportunities that will be offered to you. And for a while, you know, it was just sort of a matter of you have to play the game if you want to get the roles, and what we're seeing with this movement and is that women and people from all different walks of life are saying, we're not going to play this game anymore.
This game has changed,
but then what we also need to hear about is how the game is different depending on who you are.
Okay, with that said though, great point. Awkwafina, who is going to be appearing in Ocean's 8 this year, says, quote, "The sad truth is that it doesn't take a person of color to change things in America, as it's always been. It takes a powerful white woman to change things in America." So, I mean,
look at what happened with Jessica Chastain and Octavia Spencer when they like tied their salaries together. I think that there's an element of absolute truth in that statement, and it now does sort of come onto the onus of those who are in positions of privilege to make sure that you are leaning in and helping those, recognizing that the experiences of your other like actors and actresses is going to be really different, and you have to do your part to help out. So I think that there are great examples of women helping out, and there are other examples of women just, you know, so like not doing anything, which, you know, whose side are you on in that case?
Right. Using your privilege to help and for good. Yeah. That's absolutely.
This
is America.
I agree with that.
That's what it takes.
But do you think that because when we talked about African Americans, their issues with the Me Too, some people, and I've read online, some people feel that they don't want to have a Caucasian person be their savior, if you will. That they feel that in a negative light, it puts that community is not able to come to their own rescue. Which I don't agree with, but I can see how some people would feel that way.
I think we're talking about, I think that's like situational. Like, I think it's too big of an umbrella, but let's just think about like a racist white family. They're at Thanksgiving, bringing your black boyfriend who comes and everyone hates him, is grossed out. They're not listening to him.
Right.
You have to talk to them. They already hate him. You have to talk. They're not even going to listen to anything that he says. You have to talk to them and help change them. Yeah. So you see what I mean? It's not necessarily about being a savior. It's just about checking your people.
Got it.
And that comes, I'm a straight person, and it's, you know, when you think about like homophobia and things like that, there's a privilege that I have and a change that I can make that people who don't even want to hear it, you're in a different position of power.
Right. Great points, Brooke. Great points.